don't want to really take and show you what AutoCAD Electrical is. And before we get into the in-software portion, I just want to mention some of the benefits of an electrical specific CAD. So if you're using, not using, I guess a better way of saying it, an electrical design tool specifically for creating schematics, here are just some of the tools that you can see that'll make your job, improve your performance. 84% faster in designs. Now these numbers seem kind of large, right? An independent study, who came up with that? And, in the era of our political world, people are making up numbers all the time. But we can put this out here pretty confidently. And even if it isn't 84%, what if it was just 30% or 25%? That's one day of week of how we could get to your drawings and make you much more efficient. Here's some of the top 10 features of AutoCAD Electrical. I'm not going to read through each one of them, but I'm going to show a lot of those during the presentation today, how AutoCAD Electrical can take your average AutoCAD task and make them quicker and easier. A couple that I do want to highlight is the automatic project reports and the real-time error checking that I'll show in during the presentation as well. These tools really speed up operations. Sometimes when we're talking about creating schematics, we think that's the only job that electrical people are doing, but it's not the case. Usually once the schematics are done, now we spend about as much time creating bill of material reports and wire from to reports as we do inside of the product or inside of the software doing the engineering itself. And those jobs become quicker, faster, and easier with AutoCAD Electrical. And more importantly, more accurate. So a quick overview of what AutoCAD Electrical is. First of all, it's based on AutoCAD. So when you're using AutoCAD Electrical, you have all of your standard AutoCAD commands available, and the drawings we create are standard DWG files. You can open them and edit them and share them with anybody that edits DWG files. You notice here as I click on the Home tab, we have our lines, arcs, circles, text layers, all of the tools that are available in standard AutoCAD. But you'll also notice as I go through the presentation today, I won't be using those commands because those are standard commands, and we'll be using the electrical specific tools. So you'll notice I have project, schematic, and panel and reports. Those three are the ones I'll be working in, and several other tools to help us work with our electrical designs. One I also want to mention is conversion tools. These tools help you take your legacy AutoCAD files. Those are not going to be thrown away. You'll be able to reuse them inside of the electrical environment as well. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice our Project Manager. This tool combines all of the drawings in the project into one easy interface. You don't have to use your File Explorer and go out and try to find where the files are, each individual files located, and so on. You can see here I have a grouping of files that I'm using inside of this project. This is my standard demo set, and I have them organized by topics. You could organize them in any way you needed to. And from here, I can simply right-click on any drawing file and open it, and Electrical finds the file and brings it up on the screen for me. Okay, so that's kind of the quick overview. Now what we're going to start is creating and showing you how this gets easier in Electrical than it would be with AutoCAD or any other non-design tool. So what we're going to do is take this circuit over here and reduplicate it on the other side. So we're going to do this manually here. I could copy circuits and so on, but I really want to show you kind of the fundamentals, how this makes your job easier. So the first thing I have to do is add a couple of rungs. Using AutoCAD, I would start the line command, use object snaps, and so on. With Electrical, it's as easy as picking my add rung command, picking approximately where I want the rungs, and Electrical takes over, adds the rungs, adds connecting dots, and so on for me automatically with just 2 clicks. And it even knows, because I have the rung referencing system used on the side here, where those lines should be located. The ladder system you see here is just one style of system. AutoCAD Electrical can also manage point-to-point style systems, wiring diagrams, connectivity diagrams, 1-line, 3-line, and so on. Now we're going to start inserting components into our schematic. This is the basic workflow of how AutoCAD Electrical works. All of the symbols are standard DWG files, blocks with attributes that are very generic to AutoCAD. You notice as I pick the Insert Component command, it comes up with the groupings of the different types of symbols I'm going to use. Again, you don't have to browse out to your system, to your File Explorer, try to find your folder pieces to find the right piece. We have that all organized for you. I'm using the current NFPA symbols. As I pick push buttons, you can see the push button piece show up. AutoCAD Electrical comes with 17 different symbol libraries, including NFPA, JIC, IEC, IEEE, and so on. Now, as I insert the symbol into the rung, notice how it's trimmed the wire for me automatically. I placed it on rung 403, and it's automatically named the component for me as PB403. For those of you that are familiar with blocks and attributes, that's what we're editing here inside of this dialog box, is the attributes on this push button style of block. The first thing that's happened is AutoCAD Electrical has uniquely named this as PB403. In this particular drawing, I have it set up to use the line reference number as the component tag, and then the family number, or the family style, PB for push button, CR for control relay, and so on. The rest of the buttons you see in this dialog box are the tools that we help you fill out the information on that symbol. So I could just type something in, for example, as a string of text, or you can have default pieces that you can save and edit. And this is another example of how AutoCAD Electrical is very generic, uses just an ASCII text file where I can save and edit these text files for reuse later on. So for example, this is going to be system reset. I can pick that, and that string of text is automatically entered into the box for me. Next, one of the primary things, the first or most important report that's created with our electrical design tools is a bill of material. In order to generate that, we need to add the component information onto the component, the catalog information onto the component. So I'm going to use the lookup option. This opens our catalog browser that looks into the part data catalog database that comes with the software. This tool currently has 1 million different part numbers in it, and we're adding more all the time as manufacturers supply us with the information. You can also use our editing function here to add your own part numbers into the database for your custom type of components. In here we have a freestyle type of search. Think of this as Google inside of this database. I can type in any parts or pieces of the part numbers that I want, and it'll search through that database to find those components. So for example, I'll pick on this component that's been found, pick OK, and then information is added into the dialog box for me. And I could continue throughout the dialog box using various tools to help fill out information. But from here, just going to complete that circuit so we can see how the very first component is inserted. System reset using PB4038, trims the line, places it all in for me. Again, using AutoCAD, this would have taken several more steps. I would have had to come back in, trim and break the line, come back, type in all of that different text information, and manually make sure that I'm not duplicating that elsewhere in the drawing. I'm going to continue by putting in my emergency stop push button. This one's a mushroom head, so I'm using the same basic workflow. Notice how this component is automatically tagged 403A. This numbering system is also configurable to match whatever your company's standards might be. I'm going to jump over here. This is my emergency stop. And this time, for my lookup, instead of going into the catalog, one of the basic rules of AutoCAD Electrical is that you don't have to re-enter, reuse, or retype information again manually. We allow you to reuse the information you used before. So in this example, you'll notice these drawing and project buttons scattered throughout the dialog box. They serve the same function all over. What they allow you to do is search through the current drawing or through the current project to see if you've used any information that's similar. So I selected on project, and now I'm also given a choice of 3 options here. I can look in the current project, the one I have active here, or I could search through a project I worked on maybe last week. I know I used this emergency stop push button there. I want to reuse it here. Or one of them I find very interesting and helpful is the external file. Maybe you're doing a retrofit on a project, and that location has a stock of parts that they use as spare parts. And they'd like you to reuse those in this new project, obviously, because they can use what they have in stock. So they can create an external file, such as an ASCII text file or an Excel spreadsheet, and you can search through that file to get the information as well. I'm going to use the active project, and you'll notice here it's searched through the project and found that I've already used 4 of this part number, this emergency stop, so that's the one I want to reuse here. You can see the information has been placed in, and this part number even has pin values already associated with it. So I'll simply pick OK there, and you can see with this cross-reference I have 2 unused contacts with this particular part number, and I have it listed for me in the part. One of the neat things about electrical is also that while it's blocks and attributes, we provide a lot of tools to help you manipulate those to overcome what some people see as the deficiencies of blocks, meaning that they can be hard to edit, hard to move pieces around. But as you saw, I was able to take that attribute and simply relocate it to a different area on the symbol very quickly and easily. Okay, the next thing I'm going to insert is a relay coil. Inserting this will show you several features of AutoCAD Electrical. First of all, real-time cross-referencing and contacts. We're going to create a parent-child relationship, and I'll also show you some of the real-time error checking. So notice this one comes in as CR403. This is going to be my master control relay, and I'm also going to do a lookup for this part number. I wanted to pick this guy, P200A1. Notice that it has 2 normally open contacts, only 2 that are available. So we're going to select that part number. Notice this came in with the pin list values as well, this particular part number, K1 and K2. If I had selected a different part number, those values would come in differently as well. Again, all configurable as you're adding part numbers into the database. You can see here it's listing for us 2 normally open contacts that aren't used. So now we're going to continue by entering the child contact for that. Just a normally open contact. This dialog box, you'll notice, is different because we are working with the child now instead of the parent, so it doesn't have the same bill of material information. Our job really here is just to associate it with the parent symbol. So I'm just going over and clicking on the symbol. I could have picked drawing or project to search through any of the other drawings to find it as well. Notice now that I have the link established, how it's copied all of that information over from the parent and placed it on the child, including the location of the parent, that real-time cross-referencing and pin list information here. If we come down to this list button, you'll be able to see that here is the parent coil, and here is the 2 child components that are available. I could pick either one of these, and the information is transferred onto the symbol, and I can pick OK. And it completes the circuit. So here it shows you the real time update to the parent, but also look over at the parent coil. It's showing you that it has a child contact located on line 404. This also goes across drawings. If electrical needed to move to a different drawing and update that information, it would have prompted you and have that happen automatically, as you can see in some of these other relays down here that have contacts both on this drawing on sheet 4 and on the drawing sheet number 6. Okay, so I'm going to insert a second relay contact in here, and again, just quickly show you how this all works. Parent sibling, I can even select from one of the childs wherever it happens to be close by, and it places it on, showing me that I have all of the components in here. That unused piece is now gone, which says it because I've used up all of the contacts. So what happens if I try to insert one more, right? My part number only allowed us to have 2 normally open contacts. So as soon as I try to link it to any of that family, any of that grouping, AutoCAD Electrical is automatically warning us that we have used too many contact references. We picked one that had 2, those are already in use, and now it's giving us some options for what we want to do. If you click Ignore Limit, maybe you just know you're going to need this. I could continue with inserting this component, go back to the parent, select a different part number, and it would update the information for you. In my case, I'm just going to hit Cancel from here. A couple of other quick things I'm going to do is just add some wires. Again, this shows how quick and fast this is compared to AutoCAD. Notice I'm just selecting on the lines and it's automatically adding the connection dots. It's automatically snapping to the right places. And to take out this piece of wire, if I just hit trim wire, it trimmed that command out. So you can see I've saved several clicks over the trim or break command in AutoCAD, and it automatically removed the connecting dots for me. And finally, to complete this circuit, I'm just going to insert a pilot light saying that the machine is on and running. So I'm just selecting that in here. The system is enabled. Do a quick project lookup for part numbers that I've used before. Here's 3 of these green lights. And I've completed the insertion and completed my circuit. Now, one of the real painful tasks of working with AutoCAD is adding wire numbers into the component, putting on a unique wire number for each wire network that's in the drawing. So the typical way of doing that is to put in one wire number as either a piece of text, copy that around the drawing, and then go back and edit them. With AutoCAD Electrical, it's much easier. I've started my wire number command. Notice I can do it project-wide, individual wires, or drawing-wide. Again, project-wide would process all the drawings. Drawing-wide has added a wire number to every wire network in the drawing. For those of you that are still doing it manually, I'm sure if we didn't have your mics dropped, I would be able to hear the jaws hitting the table. And notice they're all unique. Electrical keeps track of each wire number, automatically incrementing them across the networks. Now, we also have real-time error checking for this. These are all blocks with attributes. 90% of AutoCAD Electrical is blocks and attributes. So if I go back and edit that wire number, right, so it's 406. Let's say I make it 406A. Let's say I make it 406. There's already one of those in the drawing. If I pick OK and just do with that, Electrical again warns me and tells me that that wire number already exists. You can override that. Maybe you know you're changing this one to 406, and then you'll go back and change the other one. And it also prompts you with a suggestion for what it should be. So you can just pick that and place it on. And now that you've edited that, notice it's a different color. That's a fixed value. That means it won't be changed if you go back and add wire numbers and pieces to the components later on. Okay, so far that's what I've covered in the schematic design portion of the presentation. We've added rungs, added components, automatically added wire numbers, component tagging was happening automatically, and we also had real-time error checking that was happening between each of the components. As I look at this, I also noticed that these wires are black when they really should be red. It's a little hard to show the white coloring on a white background and so on, but this is actually set up to be black or incoming power. Red would be across in the center, the normal 120 volt, and then white on this side. We have a lot of tools inside of here for helping us change and work with our drawings. For example, these should be red wires. Now notice, even though I'm selecting all of those components, intelligence is built into this so that Electrical knows not to change or work with the blocks or symbols or the text and just change the wires to the correct layer. So that's the basic portion of schematic design. And notice I've only used 4 or 5 commands out of all of them that we have available on the schematic tools. There is a lot more functionality available here than what we simply have time to be able to show you today. That's where training really comes in, and attending a training class can be really helpful to get you up to speed. One of the things I know is people look at this and think, well, it's just AutoCAD, and they start using it, but then you're using AutoCAD Electrical like AutoCAD, and you don't get the same functionality you can as if you use the tool with the tools as they're supposed to be, blocks with attributes, using the correct lines and layers and so on. Training is really helpful. Okay, so we've completed the schematic portion. Let's go to the panel design, the physical layout of these components. So I'm going to move down here to drawing number 8. And remember, I right-clicked before. I can also simply just double-click on the drawing itself, and it opens this file up. Now I'm in the panel mode, which is slightly different. Schematics and panels, one deals with the logical portion of the design, the other one deals with the physical portion. And here I am in the physical area. So I'll move to my panel tab instead. Now you'll notice we have an icon menu tool, and it works just like it did in the schematic design. I can pick a push button, start placing it in, add the bill of material information, and so on. But in reality, we've already completed the schematic design. We have those 2 push buttons in that we placed on sheet number 4, and I want to insert them on this panel layout as well. Now again, panel layouts are one-to-one to give you a real-time overview of what's happening with this. So, and one of the things I want to point out as well is that these tools work in the opposite way. Maybe you start with a panel design and you want to extract information from the panel to place on the schematic. Electrical allows you to do that as well. It's truly a bi-directional design system. So I'm creating a list of components from my schematic for insertion here. I'm going to use the project option, which allows me to select from all of the drawings in the project, or maybe I just want to select from a select few. I could pick an individual drawing or just my schematic files itself. Now this is like a bill of material list, but not quite. What this is really showing you is a list of components. It's a tool for helping you place those components. And I hit Mark Existing here, so it's showing anything with an X or an O in front of it has already been inserted somewhere on the panel on one of my physical layout drawings somewhere in the project. This is a great tool for making sure that you have all of the components on the schematic accounted for, that they're on a panel layout, that they have been positioned somewhere in the drawing. As I scan through the list, you can see here is my PB403 and 403A. Just using my control button, I can select multiple entities for this component. Notice at the bottom we have this automatic footprint lookup. What's going to happen here is electrical will look at the part number and find the matching footprint for it. As I click Insert, because I've selected multiple components, we now have an option for how we're going to place those in the drawing. If I leave it at prompt for each location, that means I can move into the drawing and place one perhaps here, move the second one up over here, third one, and so on. Just scatter them around the drawing. Or I can use uniform spacing. This tool helps you to create rows and columns of components in your panel. Once again, that's one of those tools that using AutoCAD, this can be a very painstaking process, making sure you have everything covered. In our case, it's going to be very easy. Here's my 2 components. It's now found the footprint for that first component, and it appears on my crosshairs. I place the first one, and electrical has copied all of the information from the schematic onto the panel drawing. You can see the information here, and all I need to do is approve that. You might have seen there was actually a checkbox earlier on that this dialog box here, this edit dialog box, I can turn that off because really you're just copying the information. Most of the time you don't have to see this and approve it. I'm showing it to help you see that the information is being transferred from one component to the other. Notice now that the 2 are completed. They have an X in front of them as well. If I select them, the insert button is disabled, although I could still manually place it in, or I could start using different types of tables, maybe wiring diagram tables and so on for my components. Now these components have been inserted from my schematic drawing. They are linked together. If I make a change to any one of them, the other one's automatically updated. Let's take a quick look at that. So if I go to my emergency footprint and edit the footprint piece, and I'm going to change this string of text, just adding a number 2 to the emergency stop piece. And literally I could change anything in the dialog. When I pick OK, electrical prompts you that there is a schematic symbol that needs updating as well. I can do it now, task it for a later step, and so on. When I pick OK to complete it now, electrical opens that other drawing, makes the change, then brings me back to this drawing. So both the panel and the schematic are kept up to date. And in reality, if we had 1-line drawings, 3-line drawings, hydraulic, pneumatic, and P&ID drawings that electrical can also create with its included symbol libraries, and if a symbol appeared on all of them, all of the different locations would be updated at the same time during that same operation. So literally it can be appearing 5 or 6 times in your drawing and all be updated. So let's check on that information that we placed here. This gives me an opportunity to show you another great tool as well called our Surfer tool. This allows you to pick any component or even type in the value of any component in your drawing and locate where it is within the project. For example, I picked on that emergency stop push button. You can see the PB408 reference, the manufacturer and the catalog number, and the two locations. One that's parent on the schematic, and this one located on the panel drawing. That's what this little hashtag symbol represents. So I'll simply highlight the parent and pick Go To. Electrical saves and closes your current drawing and zooms you into where that component is in your drawing and places it into the center of the screen. So you don't have to search for it or look for it. It just appears right there for you. And notice it even places a little X there, so if your list was larger, you know which ones you were going to. And now I just move back to my panel drawing using the same tool. Great ways of working within your project, much easier than trying to page through the various sheets of drawings or try to guess or which drawing it is. Electrical can take you straight to that location as part of the project. Okay, so the panel creation would continue like this pretty much the same way as as we're doing in the schematic, right? Keep reinserting those components, or maybe now you can start adding even components that aren't part of the standard schematic piece, like name tags, balloons, and so on. We have tools ready as well to complete to help with those pieces as well. So to continue on, instead of continuing more with just being repetitive and adding more components, let's now go to our reports. One of the most important time-saving features of AutoCAD Electrical is how to take that information that we added into the schematics and extract it out. I'm going to do a couple of different styles of reports for you. The first one is a bill of material report. I'm going to do this for, first of all, under panel reports, you can see we have a variety of different types, nameplate reports, and so on that you can extract. Pretty much if you place the information into the project, we'll be able to get it out in some kind of a report. From here, I'm just going to do it for the active drawing. That's a pretty common style of report. Notice we have a lot of different options, even different ways of displaying this to sort the components and the assemblies and sub-assemblies that might be in the component. And we can also sort the component, sort the list based on installation and location codes. In this case, I'm doing it by drawing, but maybe to insert these components, I just want to search and find all of the operator station 3 components and place those into a report. From here, I'm going to pick OK. And Electrical extracted all of the information that was used in this drawing and created the bill of material report for us. This is a what you see is what you get kind of box. What we're doing here is formatting how you want the report to look when you print it out or save it to the drawing or whatever we're going to do with it. Electrical provides a lot of tools for helping with this. We can see options down here for name, date, title, and so on, and also for changing what the report's going to look like in the list. For example, I'm going to slide down to change report format, and here you can see all of the different types of catalog or categories that we can add information into the dialog. For example, maybe I'm going to use user 1 as a specific company type name. So I'm going to add that value into the field, and I'm going to put it in as ASTI number instead. So when I place that, notice it's already placed into the field for me, and maybe I even want to slide the catalog field up. When I pick OK, that field has now been entered. The catalog is placed first. Everything has been formatted to get this to look just the way I want it to. And once you have that formatted, the next time I come in, it will automatically be set up to this format. And if you want to use multiple ones, we can even save the different format settings for different types of reports. Maybe you want to have one bill of material for your purchasing, another one goes to the shop floor or to the MRP system. And once we have that, we have several options of what we can do with the information. The first one I'll show you is to save to a file. When I click this, it takes that information that I have, and we can now choose what output we'd like to place it into. ASCII, Excel, Access, XML, and so on. Excel is by far the most common, so I'll pick that one. When I pick OK, Electrical again guides you through the process, automatically naming the file, in this case BOM PLM or P&L, representing a bill of material for the panel. And when I save the file, excuse me there. When I save the file, it also prompts me if I want to run a script against that file. A script would enable you to import this information automatically or email it automatically to somebody else, whatever you wanted to create for that. I don't have any, so at this point I'm just going to hit close and no script. This has created an XLS file on my hard drive that has the same format as this. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip past that for now. And past opening it and showing it to you. From here, I'm going to show you the second option. I can also take this same information and place it on the drawing as an AutoCAD table. Again, a standard AutoCAD kind of entity. We even update them if automatically as we're placing the reports. So in the upper left-hand area, you'll see the table style information, how to set it up in various ways. We have several settings available for you, or you can create one of your own. Some of the tools on the right-hand side of the dialog box are the AutoCAD Electrical ones that are really kind of unique. So picking a location point, not so unique there, but then notice it's automatically calculated how many rows are available in each piece, 52. And I know that'll run off of my drawing, so I'm going to change it and tell it to put 30 rows in each section with 1-inch spacing between the rows. So now when I place my table, it automatically places it on the drawing with 2 separate columns, a maximum of 30 rows and separated by 1 inch. If these had been even larger, I can also establish how many of the sections can be on a drawing, and Electrical would automatically start a brand new drawing for me. Okay, so that's the first one, bill of material. Most common report, everybody uses that one. So the next one I'm going to show you is one of my favorite reports. So I'm sliding over to the schematic report tab. So this is getting the electrical information off. Again, you can think of the panel reports as the physical ones where the physical locations are, and you could think of the schematic reports as the wiring, the connection information that's taking place inside of your design. And we can get a bill of material from the schematic as well in case you need to do a preliminary one, or maybe you have different panels, you want to get it all combined together. But notice the many different types of reports we have here. Components that don't have bill of materials, wire from to report, PLC I/O addresses where we can import or export the addresses on your PLCs from other systems and place them in. Wire label reports, cable from to reports, and so on. Again, if you place the information into the design, you'll be able to pull it back out in some kind of a report. I'm going to pick one of my favorite ones, the wire from to report. I'm going to do this for the entire project. We'll start with that first, picking all of the drawings. This is one of my favorite reports because I was, in my previous careers, one of the guys that had to wire the panels in the shop. I was the design engineer and I had to go out and wire the panel. So I knew what the kind of work was, and this was the days before AutoCAD Electrical, so I had to do it all manually. We can see here that we have all of the location codes. Remember, this is a wire from to report, basically going to tell you where the wires start from and where they go to. So for this first running through the report, I'm just going to pick all of the locations. So this is every wire that's in the drawing, where it's going to start from and where it goes to. Electrical creates this information for me, and just like any of the other report pieces, I can change this formatting however I want it to be by using the change report format. This is a very interesting report. I'm going to slide down a little bit further here to a component line like this one. Notice that the information that's available. Black 14 AWG, that's telling me the wire type and gauge that I need to use. The one end of the wire starts on 207A. This is a floor component, so a jack or a plug or something outside of a cabinet. It starts on plug 207, pin number 1. The other end of the wire is attached also out on the floor to disconnect number 207, and I don't have that pin number information in my schematic. So it not only does it show you the detailed information, but it can even be used to say, hey, my schematic needs a little more updating or a little more information on it. And so on. Every wire in the drawing shows up. Here's another example. Red 18, wire number 209, terminal block number 1, 209. It goes to MCAB 5 PLC 503 terminal number 07. So you can see how this can make the task of wiring the panels, wiring the machine, much easier and simpler. It guides you through the entire process. You no longer would need to scour through the schematic with a highlighter and printed pages and try to figure out which wires you've placed and not placed in the project. Very powerful tool. Many times this is not created simply because of the time that it takes to invest in and create that wiring. Another report that I disliked creating was the conduit runs that would run between different cabinets. In the days before electrical or design systems, it literally meant poring over the schematic, being very careful of what the location codes you had assigned to the pieces, where they would go to, and so on. With electrical, it is much easier. I can simply enter where I want the wires to start from, where I want them to go to, and the report is generated automatically for me. So as I slide down through here, again, you can see the same information, wire gauge, wire number, where it starts from, and they all start from MCAB 5, and the pin number, and I'll go to operator station 3. So here I have the complete list of wires, and not only which wires and what gauges they are, but where they're going to be attached on either end. And again, notice how we can make changes in here. Maybe you want to know how many of the wires are in one spot, so I can just simply come up and sort this, and I'm going to sort it based on the wire layer, which is the wire type piece. So now I have all of the same wires combined together, and so on as I'm placing this into my component. One of the pieces I want to point out, this can seem pretty amazing all by itself, that look, this information is being generated, but the even more important part of this is that all of this information is 100% as accurate as it is in your drawing. If you find a mistake in one of these reports that I'm showing you, it is a mistake in the drawing. You fix the drawing and the reports will be correct. No more typographical errors due to retyping and re-entering pieces and components in your drawings. So it's very great, very powerful tools for these reporting pieces. And just one more thing I wanted to show here as well. We have all different types of reports. So wire from to, as I explained and just showed you how we could create that, but even wire label reports. So now the person in the shop assembling the panel, we can create that wire piece, and he has the wire numbers already available. He knows where they're connecting from. I could even use this, another one of my favorite purposes to this report, let me see here, is to grab this for the project again. I'll make this one a little bit smaller. I'll just grab my schematic grouping. And for the guy working inside of the panel itself, right? So maybe, whoops, I didn't want that guy. We just wanted MCAB 5, right? So now I'm just working inside of the panel itself. That's the report I'm going to get. So now I can bury my head inside of this panel and see just the wires that are showing up inside of that panel area. And I can even remove one of these columns now, since I know I'm working just inside the panel. So very flexible, very easy to use. And finally, one more report that I want to show you is this guy called the electrical audit. Now, this does a design check or an engineering check on your drawings to make sure they're created accurately. You can see in my data set I found a lot of issues, but that's because I've collected a lot of drawings from different areas. What AutoCAD Electrical does is check through these 10 different categories for issues that might be taking place inside of the drawing. For example, maybe I have components that don't have connections on them. So I've inserted a relay, maybe I put it in the coil relay, but I haven't added any contacts. That would show up in the list. Or maybe I've drawn wires intending to attach them to something, and they show up in the list as well. And what's neat about this tool is not only does it list them for you, but it also provides means to easily fix them. For example, if I go to this one, this unconnected wire, I can come down to the bottom, and it takes use of our surf functionality, and we can see we come off to the end of this wire, and it's showing it to me here. Now maybe I know this is just supposed to end at it's just kind of a continuation, and if that's the case and I want to ignore that, I can take that same component, mark it as ignored, right? You can see that in the listing here, and I can hide those for future use so I can see only the ones that have shown up since the last time I've run the check and audit with it. Great tools for making sure your designs are created faster and more accurately in this case. Okay, so with that, I've shown you 3 different main topic areas: how to automatically create the schematics, how that can save you time and effort over using standard AutoCAD, how we reuse that information from the schematic design to create our physical or panel layouts, and finally, with the third option, or the third topic, I showed you how we can extract that information to create various types of reports to give that information and make it more useful than just a printed schematic on the list. That concludes my in-software presentation. I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint and just hit on a couple of other major areas that AutoCAD Electrical can do. For example, I didn't get into these, I showed just the basics, but we have a lot of design automation tools that we can use, including inserting pieces from the circuit builder, automatically create drawings from the spreadsheet, edit entire terminal strips throughout the drawing. All tools that can really reduce the amount of time you have to spend working inside of AutoCAD itself. And because AutoCAD Electrical is part of the Autodesk product design collection and the AEC design collection, all of that data and information can be tied together and organized for us. Autodesk has several different data management tools, and AutoCAD Electrical works well with all of them, and even seamlessly with tools like Autodesk Vault, so that as you check out drawings, Vault automatically understands that other drawings need to be checked out and checked in as well. Really a seamless interface between the two. And one of the key things I want to mention as well is Autodesk and Inventor have one design. They are 2D to 3D solutions. We have a live syncing tool between the two of them. So as I'm creating the schematic in AutoCAD Electrical and working on the information there, that wire connectivity information is then transferred into Inventor to help create a 3D model and path the wiring through the 3D model spots. And in addition to that, with our Inventor AnyCAD flexibility, we can also take external or non-native, meaning non-Autodesk type files, import them as reference files into Inventor, and then using the one link or the one design tools between Inventor and Electrical, combine those together. So again, reusing all of your existing legacy information to help create your drawings better, faster, and more accurately. And that concludes what I was going to present for today. So now I'd like to open up for questions.
Yep. And Randy, you've done such a great job of going through everything. It must be that you've answered every single question that our guests had today. Haven't seen any questions pop up. So now would be the time, folks. Don't be shy. Anything that we might not have touched on or that you would want additional info on, throw it our way now, and we'll be sure and get that answered. Now we'll give it just a minute here to give folks time to type if there are any additional questions. While we're doing that, I'll just remind each of you that our webinar survey will be popping up momentarily, and would appreciate it if you take just a minute to answer the survey, and that will get you into our $25 Amazon gift card giveaway.
One thing I'll throw out there as well is that if you come up with questions later on, feel free to contact us and we'll be sure to get back to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Either of us are happy to provide any follow-up information or answer any questions or anything that you may have. Very easy to reach. My email is jpearson@asti.com. And okay, here we go. Here's a question from Rob. Randy, Rob asks, how does the project file work with Vault manufacturing? I don't understand check-in, out, and release with AutoCAD Electrical files. So yeah, data management related question.
All right, the project file that's part of AutoCAD Electrical would also be checked into the Vault project. So it needs that project file and the drawing files that are all part of the project. Again, it's a very simple task inside of AutoCAD Electrical. We'd simply right-click on the project, tell it to check in all of the drawings, all of the project-related files would be checked in automatically into the Vault system. And then as a user, to work on any of those, I can simply open up the project, select a drawing I want to work on. If I'm viewing it, Vault doesn't do anything at that point because you're in a read-only kind of state. But if you do any editing kind of commands, then Vault will automatically check out the drawing you're in, prompting you, of course, if you want to check that out. And if you make changes that happen to other drawings as well, like a coil contact might be on other drawings, Vault and Electrical would automatically check out those files, update them, and then prompt you to check them back in. Again, it all happens pretty seamlessly and pretty easily for a user.
That's awesome. I wanted to add one too from my friend Will Zhang over at Hitachi TDS. He just wanted to add for the group, not really a question, just my feeling. He said this is indeed a revolutionary software package. It changed my mind 180 degrees. So that's awesome feedback, Will, and we appreciate that much. And yes, we will, to your second question, will I receive a video recording later? Yes, we will send each of you an email with a direct link to the recording on our YouTube channel so you can go back and review any of the info that we covered today at your leisure. Let's see, Rob's got another question here, Randy. He says, I'm having difficulty with manufacturer's content. Currently, my AutoCAD E does not seem to be linked with the extensive libraries, and therefore I'm still using vanilla AutoCAD. Let's see, how would we get Rob some further info on help with that, Randy?
Well, my first thought with that is that was part of the installation process. So when the software was being installed, or you can go back in and reinstall and add this as well, make sure you go down and when it's asking for the catalog setups that you select all of the manufacturers that you want to use. By default, we don't include everything simply because the database gets pretty large, but that's going to be the key areas. Just go back through your reinstall settings and make sure that when the listing comes up for the manufacturers, you do a select all kind of option. That's the #1 time when I see this happening. Many times people just run through and don't really look at the install screens. I know I'm in the habit of it myself. But there is some valuable ones there that add extra information, extra symbol libraries, extra catalog information into the database.